What's going on, guys? Yankee Cowboy here. Doing a video today on how to choose a shotgun. The other day I seen something on Facebook. It says, which would you choose? And it had the 4 shotguns, which we're going to talk about. It had a side-by-side, an over-under, a semi-auto, and a pump. And I turned to my son and I said, well, that's kind of a dumb question because it depends what you're going to use it for. So which struck me to make this video. There's a lot of people out here that, you know, watch my reloading, and I get tons of shotgun questions. So I figured this would probably be a pretty good video, information-wise, out to you guys, how to choose a shotgun. So I'm not going to get too crazy with it, guys, because I can make an 8-part series to this video because I got a lot of information on shotguns, and I could show you different ones. But I just want to kind of make this short and sweet so you guys could maybe take something out of this video and say, okay, he narrowed it down for me. I'm going to go with this one. So let's take it from the top. We're going to go with the side-by-side first, and then we'll work our way down to the pump. We're going to go by actions first. You're going to have your brake action, your semi-auto, and your pump. Your 2 brake actions are going to be your over-under and your side-by-side. Your semi-auto is obviously semi-auto, feeds through the bottom, and your pump, you cycle the action. And I can get into all this in great detail, guys. I even took notes. This was going to be a bigger video than I wanted it to be, but let's start with the side-by-side. It's almost one of the first guns, you know, that came out for a shotgun was a side-by-side. It's timeless, you know. The old stagecoach gun, double barrel. You know, those guns were out since the beginning of time. Those are more for collectors, really more than anything. I mean, yeah, they sell some modern coach guns that you could use for home defense, but I'm going to start off with that right off the hop. You're looking for a shotgun, whether it's going to be a pump, semi-auto, over-under, or side-by-side. Let's face it, they could all be used for home defense. That's a whole nother video. We're not even going to go there. So if that's what you're going to use it for, pretty much it's going to come down to cost after that. But side-by-sides, guys, those are pretty much a upland bird gun, a collector gun. They're for well-to-do people. I mean, they're a great gun. I have one. I was actually going to bring some of mine out here and show you, but if you're looking for shotguns, you pretty much know what I'm talking about. So side-by-side, that's what it is, guys. You know, it's pretty much a bird gun, a well-to-do gun, a collector gun. So, and they're pretty pricey. So if you're thinking of going with a side-by-side, then, you know, that's up to you. That's how much you want to spend. All right, let's go to the over-under. Over-under is a great trap gun. That's the only gun I don't have in my collection because the Browning that I want in particularly is $5,000. It's a 2-barreled set. It's a beautiful trap gun. Those guns are mainly used for trap. Recoil on them is not bad on those guns because they're heavy. Same thing with the side-by-side. Because it's got mass to it, it absorbs more of the recoil. It's not going to be as heavy as a pump would be. Your pump shotgun is light. It's going to be your most heaviest in recoil. So over-under, guys, those are more for trap shooting, upland bird hunting, sporting clays, skeet, things of that nature. And yes, again, it could be used for home defense. It's a gun, let's face it. You know, you could use a gun for home defense, any kind of gun. So an over-under, guys, if you're thinking of those are more for, like I said, trap, skeet, upland bird, stuff of that nature, and they're pricey. Yeah, you can go get a Stoger at Dick's for probably 450 bucks, you know, but it's not a very good gun. It's not a very reliable gun. You know, when it comes to over-under, side-by-sides, you want to pay the premium price to get the better gun. You want that thing to go boom when you pull the trigger. You don't want to have any misfires. Semi-auto. Semi-autos are great. They're great guns. I have a beautiful Browning Maxus. If you want something that's high maintenance, an autoloader is going to fit your bill then because autoloaders need to be cleaned. They work off of either gas operation, inertia, you know, so you got to take those things into consideration, and they need to be clean. There's a lot of moving parts going on. You know, you want to talk about reliability. You don't want that thing to have a hang up when it's cycling a shell if you were using it in a home defense. And semi-autos are pretty pricey. They generally start at around $600 and go up from there. So a semi-auto, it's lighter. It's the least amount of recoil out of all the shotguns. So if you have a weak shoulder, you're worried about that. A semi-auto is the least recoil out of all of them. It's the smoothest. But again, they're pretty pricey, and you know there's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of maintenance to them. Now, guys, I'm ruddling through this pretty quickly because I didn't want to make this a long video, but I feel it's an important video. And like I said, anybody can hit me on the Facebook, you can PM me, you can leave comments here. If you want anything more in-depth, I'd be happy to answer it in a detailed message back to you. Because like I said, I can make an 8-part video from recoil to price to the parts in and how it operates, the whole bit. Alright, so where were we? We're sitting on semi-autos. Alright, so I pretty much discussed recoil on the semi-auto is the lightest. They're pretty pricey. They usually start at about $600-700 and they work their way up from there. And the other thing is they're not going to cycle every kind of shell. Some of them that work on inertia, they need a higher load. You're not going to be able to shoot a target load out of it because it needs that inertia to cycle the bolt. My Browning Maxxis works off of gas. I could load the lightest load out of my reloader and it'll cycle it. So I mean, there's another thing to take into consideration. If you're just going to throw any kind of ammo in there and think you're going to cycle it, it may not work depending on the auto loader you get. So semi-auto is one of those things where that's for more of a seasoned shotgun owner. I wouldn't recommend it for your first shotgun. Now finally we'll get down to the pump. Pump shotguns like a 22 caliber. Everybody's got one. Everybody at some point or another has owned a Mossberg 500 Home Defender or something along those lines. It's the most reliable gun out of all of them. You cycle the action so you know it's always going to feed a shell. They're fairly light. They're the cheapest out of all of them. Only down thing I can say is it's the most recoil out of all of them. So if you don't want anything, you know, hard hitting, you know, the pump is the hardest hitting of them all. But I mean, you could always get a butt pad. There's things you can get to take care of that. You know, and you shoot target loads out of them. They're not too bad. And most of your pump shotguns out there are pretty lightweight. Most of them today are made of all plastic. There's really not many wood ones left, but you can get wood stocks. So if you go out and buy yourself a cheap Mossberg or any kind of cheap pump shotgun, you know, it's going to be a pretty light gun. So like I said, the recoil is going to be a little heavy, but it's not going to break the bank. You can get a pump shotgun used for around $200. You know, you can get a brand new one for $300, depending upon what you get. So as far as economics go, pump shotgun is probably the best way to go. Excuse me. And it'll also cycle anything you put through it, you know, but just stay within your regulations of what's written on a barrel. If it's chambered for 2 3/4 inch shells and it can't shoot 3-inch magnums, you know, don't try and jam a 3-inch magnum in there. But economically, a pump shotgun is the cheapest. It's the hardest hitting out of for the recoil out of all 4 shotguns I just talked about. What else could I say about it? There's a lot of upgrades for pump shotguns for home defense via pistol grip, shortening the stock. You know, they even sell pistol grip ones only for home defense. I mean, but like I said, home defense is another thing. So hopefully, you know, this wasn't too rushed or not enough information for you guys to make a choice. But if it were me, you know, and I'm choosing my first shotgun, I'm a new shooter, you know, A, what do I want it for? B, how much do I want to spend? I mean, those are going to be your 2 main factors when you're buying a firearm. Number 1 always should be, what am I going to use it for? What's its main intent going to be? You know, if you're a trap shooter and you're going to shoot trap, but you may want it for home defense, then you got to stop and ask yourself, if I'm shooting trap mainly, you want a trap shotgun. You know, like I said, any of them could be used for home defense, so it doesn't have to be set up with a scope, you know, an ACOG on it, and, you know, a laser and all that nonsense on there. You just don't need it. You know, somebody comes in your house and you rack a pump shotgun, they're going to know you mean business. So ask yourself, what do you want to use it for and how much do I want to spend? And number 3 for me would be reliability. You know, I mean, my autoloader, I don't have any reservations that it would go boom when I pull the trigger because I maintain it. But if you're a first-time shotgun owner, I wouldn't buy an autoloader just for the fact that there's a lot of maintenance involved. They won't cycle every kind of shell and they're expensive. So for me, I would pick the pump shotgun for my first shotgun if I'm just choosing a shotgun. Like I said, the side-by-sides are more for upland bird hunters, collectors. Over-unders more for your trap, skeet, sporting clay shooters, and bird. Excuse me. So that narrows it down to the pump shotgun. So in my opinion, guys, if you guys are trying to go out and buy a shotgun, hopefully some of the stuff I rambled through here in this video sank in and helped you make a decision. And like I said, if you need anything else or any other questions, feel free to hit me up. Alright guys, if you've got any questions or comments, like I said, leave them below. As always, thanks for watching The Total Outdoors with the Yankee Cowboy.